All right. So a lot of people do. A lot of people have done these tier list situation thingamajigger bobbers, and I thought, well, why not? Why not do one of my own? So I'm doing Mortal Kombat because I've been meaning to do that, and it's been a while. Um, just remember, this is just one individual's personal feelings on the subject. Obviously, mine are going to line up with a lot of you guys's. It might not. If you don't like it, make your own. It's really not hard. Um, so yeah, I'm going to, of course, I'm going to do this in chronological order and the games that I've played, the games that released. I'm gonna try to stick with like main titles. I'll do a couple side titles if I think it's necessary, and I'll explain why. But I'm not gonna do like Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 for the Game Boy Advance, then for the iPad and for the Nintendo DS. I'm not gonna do that, right? It's unnecessary. Um, it's just not necessary. So first things first, of course, you're gonna have the first game. And the reason why I put that in D is because even though it is the originator and the innovator of the franchise, going back to it is rough, and I think we can all agree on that. It's a rough start. But if it wasn't for the game, the franchise wouldn't have existed. So I can't hate on it completely. But it is not a Mortal Kombat game that I go back to on a regular basis because it is rough. I respect it and I love it for giving me the franchise that ended up giving me some of the best Mortal Kombat games later on. But the original is really, really rough. It's really hard to go back to. Uh, so that's why I put it there. I can't completely hate on it, but I tend to avoid it because it's a rough it's rough to play. Mortal Kombat 2, I put it up in B maybe because mainly because it's still a fun game and it did everything. It took what Mortal Kombat was doing and just perfected it even more. You know, present presentation wise, gameplay wise, roster wise, design wise, everything uh, just expanded on and made better and more polished. So, but it's the age still shows when you try to go back to a game like Mortal Kombat 2. Uh, it's great, you know, it's still a great game, but for me, the age still shows gameplay wise. Um, and it's not a game I would like actively avoid like one, but you're not gonna see me play as much as some of the other games. So I think that's why it gets for me personally, gets a fair B. It's a great game, wonderful game. Um, did a lot of great things, but also, you know, of course, led way to the great games that I like more. And for that, I gotta give it its respect. And it's still, you know, fun to go back to from time to time. But there are just our Mortal Kombat games that I more rather go back to and enjoy these days. So that's why I think it gets a fair spot there for me personally. Again, this is just my personal feelings. Mortal Kombat 3 goes in A because again, it takes what Mortal Kombat was trying to do, Mortal Kombat 2 was trying to do, and it expands on it, making it even better. Now, Mortal Kombat 3 was a weird situation, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 because that's like the standard now. Um, I was thinking of doing 3 and Ultimate 3 because they're kind of different, but I'm like, you know what? Ultimate was just it took what 3 was trying to do and said we made a couple mistakes. We're gonna do 3 again, but do it right this time, and that's what Ultimate felt like. Now the reason why I'm doing Trilogy and putting it up there, and it sounds ridiculous, I know, but the difference is, see, Ultimate 3 is the standard, right? Between Ultimate 3 and Mortal Kombat 2, those are like the standard Mortal Kombat games. Those are the Mortal Kombat games, right? For obvious reasons. But for me personally, when it comes to fun, Trilogy has it for me when it comes to these. Um, Trilogy just is way more fun, in my personal opinion. If I had to go back and choose between the three, I would definitely choose Trilogy because, for me personally, it is the epitome of what Mortal Kombat was at the time, and it's still fun to go back to. Even though it's classic Mortal Kombat, it's still. This is a game I would definitely see myself going back to, time and time again. Um, yeah, I think that's fair for me personally. Four, I have to bring down the C mainly because it isn't perfect. It's janky. It's weird. But like, if I absolutely had to choose, you know, between these two, I would absolutely choose four over one. Just again because the gameplay doesn't feel as rough, in my opinion. Um, and honestly, I didn't hate the roster as much as I did a lot of newer Mortal Kombat games. I didn't hate the roster in this game. I didn't hate the story. The presentation still felt Mortal Kombat, right? We're still in the era where things still feel like the ambiance and the feeling that Mortal Kombat is giving off, themes and the ambiance that Mortal Kombat is giving off. Mortal Kombat 4 still felt like that. Um, but of course, would I play these games over 4? Of course. But 4 is still not the best game in the world, but it still felt like Mortal Kombat for the most part. It felt like a decent attempt at a PlayStation 1, 3 Mortal Kombat game. Um, Knowing what Mortal Kombat is, right? Like, I get what they were going with. I get what they were trying to do. Obviously, it wasn't the best 3D fighting game of that time. Uh, there were way better 3D fighting games that did it way better back then. Obviously, like Tekken 3, Virtual Fighter, etc., Soul Calibur, etc. But it, there are things to like about it, or let me rephrase that. There are things I liked about it, and there are things that I still like about it. I should have did gold, right? Because gold is like, if you're gonna play it four, just play gold. I should have done gold, but I didn't. Uh, you, I should have done gold. I think people would have understood more if I did gold. Just pretend this is gold. Just pretend this is Mortal Kombat Gold. Because for the same reasons as Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. Just pretend this is Mortal Kombat Gold. I admit I forgot about Gold, but yeah, just pretend this is Mortal Kombat Gold. Uh, Next is Sub-Zero Mythologies, or Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zero. Yeah, not a good game. It was cool looking. It still had the Mortal Kombat theme and feeling and ambiance, but it was not a good game. Overall, come on, it really wasn't that great of a game. The cutscenes were fun and meme worthy, and we love it for that. But uh, I just can't. I just can't. So anyway, then we got okay. So then we got the PlayStation 2 era, and this is where, for me personally, things kind of go downhill. I still stayed playing the games because this is a time where I was still a fanatic. I kept holding on, hoping things would get better. They didn't. Painful time for me, but anyway, Deadly Alliance gets a D. I definitely would play Mortal Kombat 1 over Deadly Alliance, mainly because Deadly Alliance had a lot of stuff to offer, and I'll give it respect for that. But God, like, Mortal Kombat 1, I can at least say, you know what, it was just a product of its time, yada yada yada. Like, they worked it out. But Deadly Alliance was a step backward, and that's why I'm giving it D. Deadly Alliance felt like a huge step backward. And at least with 4, you still kind of felt like a Mortal Kombat game, sort of. This took a huge step backward for me because the gameplay just felt extremely clunky, slow, extremely limited. Combos were only pre-programmed. You can only do the pro combos they wanted you to do. It was just extremely limited, extremely clunky, extremely slow. And it did not feel like Mortal Kombat at all to me. I remember when I first played it, when it first came out, I did not like it. I did not like it. I've tried to go back to it a couple times uh, with fresh new eyes and open mind, but it's still not a great Mortal Kombat game, and it's still not a great fighting game. Now I'm doing this only because it is interesting. It's an interesting uh, entry that nobody talks about for reasons I can understand. This is Mortal Kombat Tournament Edition. Basically, all it really is, and is an extension of Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance for the Game Boy Advance. Yes, Game Boy Advance fighting games are not uh, good per se. You're just using two buttons, but I just felt like putting it in there because even though it only used two buttons, it was still a, in my opinion, if you had all the buttons of Deadly Alliance with the gameplay of Arcade Edition, I think Deadly Alliance would have been better. It would have at least made it to a C at least. Uh, and the reason why this didn't make it a C is because it is only two buttons, and it is a weird, yeah, Game Boy Advance game, but everything seemed a little bit faster, a little bit more fluid with what little they had. And I feel like if they had just did that with this game, it would have probably made C. It sounds stupid, I know, but I would much rather play this than Dead or Alliance. That's all it really come down to. And there's Deception. Deception's weird because it's basically Deadly Alliance, but with more stuff. You have more of the classic characters coming back, which was awesome, or at the time was a good sign. Uh, but they doubled down on what they were doing with Deadly Alliance, and they just kept adding more stuff. This was a time where games started being really, really, really jam packed with content. I mean, if you look at Mortal Kombat Deception, Soul Calibur 3, Tekken 5, even fighting games like that were so jam packed with content beyond just the fighting. The difference is games like Tekken 5 and Soul Calibur 3 were actual solid 3D fighting games. Right? They were solid. They were decent. Right? Soul Calibur 3 may not be the best Soul Calibur game, but it's still a good fighting game. It's still a solid 3D fighting game. It's still fun. It's still enjoyable. It's not as clunky and slow, and it's more fluid, and you know so you can't really make any excuses saying, oh well, they had so much, they were putting so much in the game, and or yada yada yada, it was a product of its time. No, there were plenty of great fighting games at that time. Dead or Alive, uh, Bloody Roar, like all these, they were great 3D fighting games at the time. Virtua Fighter 3, Virtua Fighter 4, Tekken 5, Tekken Tag. There were a lot of Soul Calibur 2, Soul Calibur 3. Um, there were a lot of good fighting games at that time, good 3D fighting games at that time. That's what Mortal Kombat, um, Dead Alliances, and Deception was trying to be. They were trying to be 3D Mortal Kombat games, and they just weren't good fighting games at all, in my opinion. Let's see. And then we got Shaolin Monks. Of course, we can't forget about Shaolin Monks because it was like the little ray of hope in that Pandora's box. Uh, Not only was it a decent game, and it is a game that's still kind of fun to go back to and mash buttons and beat stuff up with, but it gave me hope. It gave me hope because the combos and the moves and all the cool stuff that they were doing with Shaolin Monks gave me hope. And I was like, oh, okay, so there's the next Mortal Kombat game has to be way better. They have to have learned from Deadly Alliance and Deception, and you know something new is gonna happen. It's gonna be great. Well, and anyway, so I get to B because of that, because it was a ray of hope at the time. It's still a good game. Of all the PS2 Mortal Kombat games, this is the only one that I would go back to. Like actually say, well, let's go back to it and play and have some fun. This is the one. Um, I might do the others just for content, but this is the one that if I do and when I do, I will actually enjoy it while I'm doing it, and I know that, and that's why it gets a B. It's not perfect, but it was fun for what it was, and I actually enjoyed myself. Then Armageddon happened, and the reason why I'm getting Armageddon in E is because one, I think D probably would have been more fair. Only because the Wii version is makes for a fun party game. You know, you get some friends together, just start swinging the Wii controllers around. It's actually pretty hilarious. But I think the reason why I put it in E is because it was such a letdown. It was such a letdown. It was even a step back from these two games. See, these two games, each character had like two fighting styles and then a weapon style. You had to switch between the styles. This one said, "No, we're gonna bring it down to two." So these games were already limited, right? They had three fighting styles, but like hardly any combos. And what little combos they had were pre-programmed. So like you have to put these specific buttons in this specific, uh, instead of like any other fighting game where you could do a super move and then when you knock them over the air and then and then go into like a punch and then a kick and another super move and like you can kind of make up your own combos in some of these other fighting games, like you know kick somebody in the air and then follow it up with a bicycle kick and things like that. You can make stuff up on your own on the fly. This game was like, no, we're not going to let you do that. We have combos pre-programmed for you. You're going to do those combos, and then these combos focused on doing regular combos mixed with or regular combos that bridge between fighting styles, which wasn't a horrible idea, just not implemented well. Imagine being able to say, uh, do like Liu Kang, right? Like, hit somebody with a combo that knocks them up in the air, and then hitting them then switching to a different fighting style, doing another combo, hitting them with like a bicycle kick or something, like give the player a little bit of freedom to do it their way. These games didn't do any of that. And then even more than that, this game added a couple things, but then they took away some things. Like they added, these crazy weird air combos and bounce combos, which were again on paper sounded cool, just weren't implemented well at all. Right? You want to see how to do those air combos? Look at Marvel versus Capcom, right? Look at all of those games, that did air combos correctly, and then look at Mortal Kombat that tried to do them and didn't do a very good job at all. Uh, it was just clunky and just janky, and it did not feel good. It was a huge letdown because, again, Shaolin Monks had me hoping, right? They had cool air combos and cool special moves and cool things that you can do, and then they made you think, okay, well maybe we're gonna get a really cool fighting game with really cool stuff, and then we got this. The create character was okay, I guess. The creative fatality idea was garbage. It was to me personally, it was a huge letdown, right? All the characters in the game didn't make up for all the crap the game put you through, and then even the conquest mode was a step back, right? Conquest mode and Deception was a huge open like RPG type situation, and then they went back. Oh, we're just gonna do a quick beat 'em up mode, like Tekken 5 did with the Jin thing. That was kind of a letdown. And even that game, even that little whatever the hell beat 'em up game they created in there, where you play as Taven, wasn't that great. It was clunky. It was like there are way better beat 'em up games that have come out on like the Sega Genesis. So yeah, Armageddon was a huge letdown for me, and that's why it gets a E. And then after Armageddon, we have DC Universe. I know a lot of people are mad at me for this one, but first of all, it's hilarious. I mean, Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe. First of all, it's freaking hilarious. Uh, Making me laugh is part of the fun, I guess. I have to give it credit for that. Even though it's not trying to be, it definitely is hilarious. Two, it did the thing. It started to show what we wanted, right? Some of the combos were still technically programmed, technically speaking, but they were still starting to show a little bit more freedom in how you link combos together, how you link moves together. They started this. They started to show a little bit more freedom, and I appreciated that, especially characters like Sub-Zero, who had really cool moves that you never saw Sub-Zero use before or since. He had a cool teleport move and a cool parry move, and They got rid of all of that, and even Sonya had some cool combos, and Liu Kang, and they started to focus on combos and linking moves together and things like that, and they started to show some actual ideas toward progress. It still failed as a 3D fighting game, and it still had a lot of whack stuff going on with it, like Wonder Woman and the story and Rage, and there was a lot of weird things that didn't do too well. But would I play? For me, the tier list is what game would I go back to and go play over the others, right? Would I play Mortal Kombat Universe? Would I go back? Would I go back and play Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe over Mortal Kombat? Yes. Would I go back and play it over Arcade Edition? Tournament Edition. Tournament Edition? Absolutely. Would I go back and play it over Deception? Absolutely. Etc. 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 Like, yeah, that's why I put it up here, because I would easily play it over these. Now, I feel almost exactly the same toward these two games, which makes sense, right? Like, they're both kind of janky, they're both kind of, weird, but I just gameplay wise, I would much rather play these than these, easily, easily. And then Mortal Kombat 9, of course, gets S tier because for me, it did everything right, almost. Yeah, it's almost the perfect Mortal Kombat game. Almost. Um, it's the closest thing to the perfect new Mortal Kombat game, right? I love the combos, I love the tag mode, I love the roster. Like, if I had to give this game a rating, like hell, I might even do that too. Mortal Kombat 9 gets a 9 out of 10. Or, you know what? Mortal Kombat 9 gets a 10 out of 10, right? 10 out of 10 doesn't necessarily mean it's completely perfect. It just means that it is top notch. It does damn near everything right. The only thing I feel it could have done better, probably the music. I'm trying to think. Probably the music for sure. The music was decent, but I don't know. I think Mortal Kombat the games could really use some more hype tracks. You know what I'm saying? Mortal Kombat is a very visceral game. You know what I'm saying? The music they do made perfect sense for Injustice, right? It worked perfectly for Injustice and Injustice 2. The music they make, the kind of music they make, worked perfectly for those games. But Mortal Kombat, I feel, deserves visceral. Like, it really made me sad when the what's his name who does the music for Mortal Kombat say he didn't like Mick Gordon's music, because I thought Mick Gordon's music would be perfect. Like, you listen to Killer Instinct and Doom Eternal, and you play those games on a playlist while playing Mortal Kombat, and see how well it fits. It fits so freaking well. I'm not saying it has to be Mick Gordon. I'm saying it deserves more hard hitting hype music. But that's not to say the music was bad. It could, if there was something I feel they definitely could have done better, definitely the music. Some of the animations, but the animation thing almost became part of Mortal Kombat's charm. The little weird animations has just kind of become part of Mortal Kombat's charm, so I don't really hold that against it. Um, the story was decent. I see now on hindsight that it was kind of like where they started to show um, where things started to really go downhill story wise with the lore of Mortal Kombat and the canon, um, especially turning Raiden into a giant buffoon. But other than that, it was still a decent story mode. The core gameplay was awesome. Tag mode was awesome. All the content, all the little side mini games and stuff were awesome. Yeah, if I was gonna give any of these games a 10 out of 10, easily it would go to Mortal Kombat 9. The trilogy would be 9. Ultimate would be like a 8.5. This would be more of like a 7, 8. I'll give it an 8. I think 8's fair. This is a 8. I think this is a fair 8. And then these, like four, I think is gonna be more of a seven, or yeah, seven. I think seven's fair for these. Seven, and then six for sure, uh, and then like fives, and then hell, actually it'd be like six, and then five, four, three, two, one. No, Sub Zero is not that bad. I think these are good. These are fives, four, and then three, two, one down here. Um, X X I'll give. What did I give through? These were 10, 10, 9, 8, and then I think I gave these sevens, right? And then no, eights. I gave these eights too. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I think 10 goes. 10 is weird. 10 is weird. 10 is so freaking weird. I like the core gameplay of 10. I do. I like the combos. I like playing as Raiden. Raiden has some dope ass combos. Melina has some fun combos. Ermac has some fun combos. Freaking even um, Shinnok has some fun. The game has fun combos. Uh, the story was whack. It was so stupid. So many stupid things happened in that damn story. Um, the roster wasn't the greatest. It started to really introduce crazy guest characters, which kind of let me down. Mortal Kombat 9 had Kratos, which was cool, but then it had Freddy Krueger, which I thought was kind of whack. And then this game had Alien and Leatherface and Jason, and I know that's great for some people. People were excited about it, but for me personally, I thought it was whack. Um, you have these weird guest characters that take place of what could have been great Mortal Kombat returns, right? And I think that's my biggest problem with it is there's so many great characters that could have come back, and instead they do guest characters, and that which hurt even more in the next game. But I'll get into that later. But X is still a good core game. You pick a character, you find a character you like, which I was able to do in Mortal Kombat X, and you enjoy the core gameplay, and that's what I did. I did enjoy the core gameplay, and I do appreciate the fact that when the game came out, the net code was garbage, but then they put a lot of money and manpower and yada yada resources into fixing the online, and now this game is so much better for it, and so I think it's fair to move it in this weird area. For me, this is like between an A and a B because I still go back to it quite a bit and play it. I've still gone back and I've had a lot of fun doing so, and I can't hate on it because of that. I can't sit there and say it's not. I go back to it. I do tend to go back to this game more than a lot of Mortal Kombat games, and I have to give it that credit that it has me going back. And last but not least, Mortal Kombat 11. Mortal Kombat 11, I feel fits here because overall, it's not a horrible package. It really isn't. Beautiful game, amazing looking game. Um, it has a lot of content. It really does. The customization isn't horrible. I feel like it could have been done better, but the fact that they even have customization, it was dope in a Mortal Kombat game. So I'll give them that. The roster started off kind of iffy, but by Ultimate, it is a lot better technically. I still am not a fan of the guest characters again. RoboCop was a horrible idea. I don't know what the hell I mean, I get Rambo. Rambo makes sense. Terminator, I felt was kind of nah. You know, Spawn made sense. It's just I don't know. Joker, I guess, makes sense just because injustice, yada yada. But again, I can't help but think, well, what if that slot was saved for Smoke or Reptile or freaking somebody a huge surprise like I don't know like freaking Kai, right? Imagine bringing back Kai and making him into an amazing new fighting game character, right? They did that with Frost. I mean, the Frost redesign is actually pretty awesome and makes perfect sense. Um, Story wise, lore wise, it all makes perfect sense. it works, and it did work to make her an even cooler character than what she was originally. And I thought that was a really dope thing they did with freaking Frost. But imagine if they did that with like Kai or damn it, what was her name? The vampire chick. I forgot her name already. Or Rico, or just bring back some of these, like I said, Smoke or Reptile, or some of those characters, right? Bring back some of those characters, remake those characters into something really dope and awesome. Even if use your stupid multiple timeline bullcrap to reinvent some of those characters, right? That would have been awesome, you know. But we get RoboCop and freaking Terminator and Joker and you know. Now they did put Frost in, and they did a really good job with her. They did put Fujin in, did a really good job with him. Um, Melina was okay. I feel like Mortal Kombat X Melina is still way better in my opinion. Uh, I honestly thought Shiva's redesign was dope. Like the designs are cool. You know, I actually liked Scarlet's redesign, right? Especially some of her customizations. You can make her look really cool. Um, it's just overall, I cannot have fun with that game. I just can't. I can't. I want to so bad because it's a great looking game. Great looking game. Some great characters. Right? I tried to play Frost for a while, and she is a good character. She's a fun character. It's just the limitations of the game really, really starts to show itself. You just play a few matches. Just play a few matches, and the limitations really start to show itself. And every time I play that game, I feel sad and I just want to play something else. Every time. Every time I go back to Mortal Kombat 11, I feel sad and I want to play something else. Every single time. So when I see people say that about like say Tekken, I can't get mad at them because I know how it feels. Because that's how I feel about freaking Mortal Kombat 11. A lot of people feel that way about Tekken 7, and I get it. I still like the core gameplay of 7, which it allows me to look past some of that bullcrap, like, you know, Megan or Noctis, right? But I can't do that with Mortal Kombat 11. I can't enjoy. I can't find. I tried. I tried Fujin, who's a great addition, but I cannot have. It's the game. It's Mortal Kombat 11. As I played Fujin, all I can think about is, wow, it would have been amazing if I could do this. It would have been amazing if I could do that. It would have been amazing if I could do this. And you start to feel the limitations, and it makes me depressed. When I played Melina in Mortal Kombat 11, same thing. I liked Melina in Mortal Kombat X, right? I liked her design, and I liked her gameplay. And I played Melina in Mortal Kombat 9 was cool. And in Mortal Kombat 11, all I could think about is, again, all the things you were able to do with Melina in Mortal Kombat X and Mortal Kombat 9 that you can't do in 11, because, again, they limited the gameplay so much that it's like, yeah, Melina's in the game, but like, I can't have fun with the chick. So every time I play her, I'm like, well, man, it would be nice if I could do that. Man, it'd be dope if I could do this. Man, it'd be dope if I could do that. And then I start to, again, I get depressed and I just feel like playing something else. I did that with Fujin, Melina, Raiden. I was super disappointed in how they did Raiden. Um, Frost was the first character. I even did Jackie Briggs because she had some things that were cool about her. But even then, the more I played, the more I saw the limitations, and the more I felt it made me feel depressed. Like, ugh. And then it just made me want to play something else. It just made me want to play something else and think, wow, what if these characters were in Mortal Kombat X, right? What if these characters were in Mortal Kombat 9 with freaking tag mode? Just imagine, right? And then you had the freaking story modes that have stupid storylines, and then how the audacity to show you characters and go, these characters are not going to be in the game, but you got to fight them anyway. Mortal Kombat X did that, and then Mortal Kombat 11 did that, and it made me, again, disappointed that they would double down on such an idiotic thing to do. Because again, Triborg and Mortal Kombat X was freaking dope. and they could have redone Triborg, and we know they could have done it because they did with the freaking Ninja Turtles and Injustice 2. And they could have done that in Mortal Kombat 11. They could have done that in Mortal Kombat 11, but they chose not to. Instead, they gave us the colors of the robots through RoboCop, which felt like a huge middle finger to the hardcore Mortal Kombat fans. Um, Same with like giving Scorpion as reptile skin. I was like, what the? Come on, man. Come on, man. It's just that kind of stuff feels almost like a middle finger. Like, screw you guys. Whether it is or it isn't, that's just how it feels to me. But more importantly, because that stuff's just that. The most important thing for me is the gameplay. It feels so limited and it feels depressing, and it just makes me want to play something else. It's not like Killer Instinct 2013, where I go and every time I play that game, no matter how horrible I am, I'm horrible at that game. But it's so fun. I don't care. It's so fun to push buttons and do stuff. I don't care how crappy I am at that game. It's fun, you know. And it doesn't have to be Bloody Roar. Same thing. I'm not good at the game. That game isn't like tournament lead, esports ready, blah blah, all that bull crap. No, but it's fun, and I have fun playing it. I have fun getting my ass kicked. Right. Same thing with Tekken 7. It is an esports game, but I have fun playing it. I don't have fun playing Mortal Kombat 11. I tried. I put hours into it, trying and trying and trying, and I just couldn't. And I finally just gave up and said, I'm done. Um, I'm still interested. I'm keeping my eye out and seeing what the future holds for Mortal Kombat. I don't know. I'm gonna keep my eye out and see what's going on. I will always give them respect for. I mean, they did some cool things, right? Being able to play as Christopher Lambert as Raiden, that was sick. I'll give them that. Same thing with Johnny Cage and Sonya. I kind of wish they did the same thing with some of the ninjas, giving them their movie outfits. I thought that would have been cool. Uh, Giving them, and then I started thinking, why not go back and give these characters their classic outfits, right? Liu Kang's Mortal Kombat 4 outfit, or they did that with Sonya. I love that they had Sonya Mortal Kombat 3 outfit. I thought that was dope. But let's do that with more characters, right? Let's give, you know, well, we don't have Ermac, so we can't do that. But you get what I'm saying, like, and we don't have reptiles, we can't like, it's the characters that we do have, Sub-Zero, give him some of his classic outfits, right? They kind of do in his customizations. You can kind of make his classic outfit, sort of. But like, let's do Mortal Kombat 3 with the maskless and the scar, and let's do, you know, Mortal Kombat. You get what I'm saying. Go back and give us some of the classic outfits for the ninjas at least, and which they did for some other characters, and then for some of the like the female ninjas, they did the classic outfits for the female ninjas, which I liked. I thought that was cool. They look great. Um, but it would have been cool to have like Fujin with his Mortal Kombat 4 look, and then Fujin with his Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zero look. That would have been cool. Uh, you know. Anyway, they did some cool things. They did, absolutely. They did some cool things. They did some dope things. They did some awesome things. But I cannot enjoy the game. I cannot have fun with the game, and that's why. Uh, Now, it doesn't seem fair that I put it in B, because I do enjoy these games. But the reason I put it in B is because it's not a bad game. It really isn't a bad game. It's just I like more combos and I like craziness. I like craziness. I like combos. I like craziness. And Mortal Kombat 11 tried to dial down the craziness. Uh, and I felt like that's just a no-no in Mortal Kombat. It really is. I get why they're doing it, but why not do that with Injustice? Why not make Injustice that game? That's what I don't understand. You guys are making Injustice games. Why not make Injustice that game? You're about to make a Marvel game. Why not make Marvel that game? Let Mortal Kombat be crazy. Let Mortal Kombat be crazy. Allow Mortal Kombat to be crazy. Make another fighting game. Make other fighting games. Make more fighting games of other titles, original, whatever. You were supposed to. You say you were gonna make a. a horror game, like a fighting game with horror characters. Make that your, you know, footsie based whatever. Like, make those games do that. Let Mortal Kombat be crazy. You cannot. Mortal Kombat is an intense, crazy game. You can't. It's like Mace Windu. It's like you cannot hire Samuel L. Jones and then limit Samuel Jackson. I'm sorry, Samuel L. Jackson. You can't hire Samuel Jackson and then limit the man. It doesn't feel right. Mace Windu didn't feel right because it's Samuel L. Jackson, but like extremely limited and held back and caged, right? He had to limit himself. He couldn't be Samuel L. Jackson. And I was like, come on, man, you can't hire Samuel Jackson, not let him be Samuel Jackson. It's the same thing with Mortal Kombat. You cannot make Mortal Kombat and just not let Mortal Kombat be Mortal Kombat. Let Mortal Kombat be Mortal Kombat. Be crazy, have fun. And I'm hoping if they do planning on doing another Mortal Kombat, that they focus on the fun factor, right? Even if it's making two games, right? Splitting it into two parts, making one game that's just for fun, and then making a tournament game like you did here with freaking Tournament Edition. I don't know what was the point of that, but it's there. That's what you should do now. Make a fun game, and then make a tournament edition for the people who want to be like this, you know, or something. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I'm not a Mortal Kombat game developer, so I don't know what the answer is. All I know is me personally, just speaking on a personal level. I'm not speaking for everybody. I'm only speaking for myself. Mortal Kombat 11 is not a bad game, and I'd be lying if I said it was. It's not. There are things to like about it, and there are reasons why I could possibly see myself going back before I ever see myself going back to Armageddon or Mythology Sub-Zero or Deadly Alliance or Deception or hell even this game or this game. Uh, and I will give it that. And there are things to like about it. There are things that are fun about it, but it makes me sad. It does. It really makes me sad. But I don't feel right moving it. I don't feel right giving it any other place. I think because of all the good things that it does, it deserves at least a B, at least, because there are things about it that are decent. You know, I just feel like it could have done things better. It could have focused a little bit more on being fun. It could have had its loot system be more like Injustice 2, and its customizations be more like Injustice 2. If they did that, I would have probably enjoyed the game a lot more. Um, and I hate that I'm saying that because I remember watching Mortal Kombat X gameplay, worrying that they were merging um, Injustice with Mortal Kombat. I remember worrying about that. Like, why are they doing Injustice things in Mortal Kombat games? And let those two games be separate. But then Injustice 2 did some things that Mortal Kombat 11 tried to do. And I was like, well, if you're going to try to do that, do it that way because that way was better. Injustice 2 did have a better, you know, like item collection system and customization, character customization system than Mortal Kombat 11, in my opinion. And if they had just done it that way, because they're all, you know, they're already merging the two games technically when it comes to features. If they would just do it that way, it would have been better, right? Bring back what makes Mortal Kombat fun, you know, knocking characters through levels, crazy combos, crazy moves, crazy characters, you know, just fun. Bring back the fun, man. You know, adding friendship for characters, you know, was cool, but I don't know. I don't know. Hopefully there's a happy medium that they can find somewhere. Because again, it's not a horrible game. It isn't. The core gameplay is not like these guys that are clunky and slow and garbage. Um, there's still good things. It's just not enough for me, you know, because it's still a step back from this and this. That's what it is. It's still a step back from these games. Um, and if they just moved it back up just a little bit, even just up to this game, right? Just a little bit, you know, just enough to give me a character that's just fun and crazy, and that I want to play. You know, like they gave crazy moves to Scorpion and Baraka, but those just aren't my characters. They're cool. They're just not my characters. Give us some cool characters, right? You know, cyborg characters, and Smoke, and Cyrex, and Ermac, and give us some fun characters. Let them do fun, cool crap, and just let us have fun. Even if you have to like, even if you have to re, even if you have to uh, re, redo the um, variation system, right? Redo the variation system so that we can have a version of the characters that are super fun and a version of those characters that are esports ready or whatever. Like give us your version of the characters for the people who like that, and then our version of the characters for the people who like that. That's what you should use the variation system for, right? Let us have fun if we don't want to be esports, and then use the variation system to give us fun versions of the characters that can do whatever the hell we want, and then limited versions of the characters that can be easier to balance and what have you, yada yada, blah blah, etc. etc. Do that. If you must have a variation system, which I feel is probably what brings these games down, in my opinion, if you must have the variation system, use the variation system for that. Give us a fun version of the character that can be played offline or among people who don't care about all the super serious esports stuff. And then use a variation of the characters that does have all that limited, more esports stuff that you guys want, the more, limited footsie stuff that you guys want, um, because it's easier to balance or what have you. If that's what you guys like, give us, keep that variation, but keep a variation that's fun for the people who just want to have fun. If you're gonna have a variation system, just do that. Just do that. That should be a lot easier, really, right? Just give a character all their moves that they've known to have. Let us do what we want with those moves, and then limit whatever you need to limit for those characters in a variation that's used for online rank and esports or yada yada. You know, I don't know. I don't know. Just some ideas. But for me personally, this is my Mortal Kombat tier list. I didn't put an F because if I were to put an F, it would probably end up being the Jax, but I never played Jax. Um, what was it? Mortal Kombat. I forgot what that game was called. I never played it, but it probably would go down here. I've seen some gameplay. It looks terrible. Um, but yeah, I don't. I was always a fan of more the lore. The gameplay was always cool too. I like the fatalities and stuff. I posted on Twitter not too long ago that I would actually like the next Mortal Kombat to not have fatalities. And I know that's super controversial because it's Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat has to be a fatality. What I think they should do, even if they do fatalities, let's say they do fatalities, I think they need to stop doing the whole models with the guts and the bones, or have two versions, right? Have two versions of characters. Have the gameplay where you're just fighting and it's just like any other fighting game, right? Tekken or whatever, right? And then what you should do is the fatality should be a cutscene, and then use that to just play a video. I know that sounds stupid, but the reason why I'm saying this is because the reason why I'm saying this is because if you're not going to give us the characters we want, let us at least mod the game. Look at Tekken 7. I've seen people mod in Jinpachi with his moves from Tag 2, but tweaked to work more like Tekken 7 combos and moves. I've seen Jun Kazuma, right, with her Tekken Tag 2 model and moveset. Same, again, tweaked to work more like Tekken 7 moves. I've seen Wang Jinrei moved over into Tekken, which was made easier by the fact that they added what was his name? Leroy Smith, etc., etc., etc. Right? I'm seeing them import characters into the game, like True Ogre and freaking Ancient Ogre, and it's awesome. It's so freaking dope. And I'm even seeing people do it in games like Devil May Cry 5, etc., etc. But imagine playing a Mortal Kombat game like Mortal Kombat 11, Mortal Kombat X, Mortal Kombat 9, and having characters modded into the game that weren't there before. Like, well, imagine playing Mortal Kombat 11 and somebody modded in like freaking Kai. Like, how sick would that be? How freaking sick would that be? Or people mod in, right, the cyborg characters and make, give them moves from Mortal Kombat X and kind of just tweak it so that it works in Mortal Kombat 11, right? Or, you know, freaking Reptile or, Ermac, since they already have the model for Ermac, right? Or, what have you. Imagine that. Just imagine how dope that would be. Or, even better, or not even better, but just as good, uh, mod in costumes and looks from different Mortal Kombat games, right? Like have Mortal Kombat Deadly Lion Sub Zero in Mortal Kombat 11, or all you imagine that how dope that would be, you know. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I just know something about Mortal Kombat 11 makes me sad, so I don't play it anymore. But it's still better than a lot of other Mortal Kombat games. And my favorites are Trilogy and Mortal Kombat 9. Those will probably always be my favorites. Especially if NetherRealms is. It seems like they're completely adamant about this being what Mortal Kombat is now. So yeah, right now these are my favorite Mortal Kombat games. They'll probably always be my favorite Mortal Kombat games of all time. So yeah, there's my Mortal Kombat tier list and why they are in those positions. I feel pretty good about this. Because again, this is just my personal opinion. My personal opinion. It's more based on what I would go back and play. And also, just different things, what they offered, right? Mortal Kombat 1 introduced it, so I can't hate it completely, et cetera, right? What they offered as a package, what they offered as a game, what they, how the impact, et cetera. Um, Mortal Kombat game was a huge letdown for me, right? For me personally, Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks was fun, but also very hopeful, et cetera, right? So yeah, there's my tier list for Mortal Kombat. I'm thinking of possibly doing a Tekken one next. I don't know if I've done it yet. I don't think I've done tier list videos yet. So after this, I think I'm gonna do Tekken because that's gonna be even harder. That's gonna be way harder because I really like Tekken. I love Mortal Kombat. It'll always have a place in my heart, but I had to step away, and I'm probably gonna have to step away for a while. Um, but we'll see. Maybe they'll finally find that sweet spot. Hopefully they do. Anyway, yeah.